You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, YNR fans. All right, we've got Sharon Newman losing herself bit by bit, a little more each day, and now she is shrieking at people and making threats. And soon, someone's life is in danger because of Sharon, maybe more than one life in danger. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we're going to discuss whose life may be at risk and who may be killed off before this messy CBS soap plot wraps. So I've got 5 people to talk about who are on my list as potential character deaths as Sharon dips deeper into her bipolar spiral. And no, I do not think she's taking her medication, despite what Mariah Copeland told Nick Newman. On the episode, she only searched the living room and Sharon's purse, as far as I saw, and she found a bottle of ibuprofen. We never saw her going upstairs or into the bathroom. I saw living room area and purse, but Mariah told Nick and Faith that she found Sharon's pills in the medicine cabinet and that she's taking them properly. I don't think there's any way that she's taking medication right now. I mean, we've seen how she's doing. Soap Digest did an interview recently with Camryn Grimes where they confirmed that she didn't find signs she's on her meds. At one point, she talked about doing dosage stuff. So it's very weird writing, and I don't know if they filmed a scene and then cut it, because it's very just disjointed looking at what Mariah found in the house and what she reported back to her sister Faith and her ex-stepdad Nick. But it's what we have. Either the meds aren't working or indeed she's not taking them. I don't think she's taking them. I think Mariah might be covering for her mom to some extent. She did say in the interview that Mariah wasn't around to really see how bad that Sharon's bipolar issues were before, because that was before she came back and was gaslighting her. So she might not think it's as big a deal as the other people do. We'll see how it goes. But with that in mind, you know, Sharon is improperly medicated or unmedicated and openly welcoming these conversations with dead Cameron Kirsten. You know, it's like he's her unhinged life coach. So things are going to get very bad very soon. False spoilers from CBS say that Sharon is haunted by the past and goes dark and mentions lives being in danger. We'll talk more about specific names mentioned. So, of course, the very first person we have to talk about is Daniel Romalotti. Not only was he part of the crash that killed Cassie Newman, but Sharon just dreamed about Daniel having died instead of Cassie. And Camryn was egging Sharon on about how Daniel ruins everything. And in her alternate history dream, Sharon saw that Cassie was alive and had grown up into an adult. Daniel was dead and Sharon was still with Nick. Her life was perfect. And given how the lines are blurring with her between sleeping and waking, between reality and fantasy, with Camryn as her twisted Jiminy Cricket giving her advice, you know, I definitely think Sharon could be talked into killing Daniel. If she really thinks Cassie will somehow come back to life if Daniel's dead, then yeah, I do think Sharon would kill him or try. She might even recreate the crash that took Cassie's life, you know, get him drunk and put Daniel behind the wheel, which is what Sharon thinks should have happened instead of Cassie being behind the wheel. I can see it. All right, next on the list of possible victims is Lucy Romalotti, or as Sharon calls her, the brat. What's messed up is that Lucy almost seems to be a hybrid of Daniel and Cassie, because Lucy keeps hitting the bottle and Daniel was a teenage drinker, but Cassie was one who followed older kids around. She snuck out to go to parties, to be with the older teen crowd that included Daniel and Lily back then. But when Sharon looks at Lucy, I don't think she sees Cassie. I think all she sees is a mini me of Daniel, the person she blames for her daughter's death. And with Lucy sneaking around and lying and stepping out when grounded and getting drunk all the time, I think it'd be pretty easy for Sharon to get hold of Lucy. I could see Sharon using Faith's phone to send a text to trick Lucy into meeting her. And like with Daniel, I could see Sharon loading Lucy into a car and driving her to her doom. I mean, heck, I could see Sharon loading drunk Daniel into the car and then shoving Lucy in with him and sending them careening down the road with him driving drunk. You know, she'd have to get Daniel drunk, but she could pour booze down his throat. It happens. So third is another person who is definitely supposed to be in danger as part of this plot, and that is Phyllis Summers. So part of the false spoilers say that when her family is targeted, presumably by Sharon, that Phyllis snaps. I mean, we're already seeing this warming up right now. This week, Phyllis told Nick he needs to commit Sharon to Fairview to get her head on straight and regulate her medications before she gets worse and does something that she can't take back. And Phyllis isn't wrong about all this, but with Mariah either lying about the meds or Sharon, flushing her pills down the toilet instead of taking them, whatever's happening, it doesn't look like that Sharon's family is ready to involuntarily commit her. Another false spoiler says Phyllis and Sharon are both in danger because of this bipolar spiral. And by the way, Sharon Case's 30th anniversary as playing Sharon Newman on Y&R comes on September 21st. So I think that's when we might get the big finale to this storyline. And Phyllis has been on Sharon's most hated list for a while. They don't like each other right now. So if Sharon is filling up a car full of people she doesn't think deserve to live while Cassie is dead, then Phyllis might wind up riding shotgun next to her son Daniel with Lucy in the back seat or stuffed in the trunk. Can you imagine Sharon sitting in the back seat holding a gun, telling Daniel to drive on a dark, winding road? It could go that way. All right. And of course, fourth person to talk about, we cannot leave off the last member of Lucy and Daniel's family. Will Sharon also target Heather Stevens? Just by the way, in terms of history, Phyllis ran over Heather's dad, Paul Williams. She was aiming for cricket, but she got Paul. So maybe Sharon's going to run over Heather and keep that family tradition going. Sharon showed up at Heather and Daniel's apartment and was raging at them over Lucy running amok and being fixated on Faith. And I mean, Sharon wasn't wrong about that, but parenting teenagers is not an easy task. Cassie snuck out on her and Nick, Plus, Lucy is a very troubled teen with a tendency to lie to get what she wants. So, Heather and Daniel are dealing with a lot. But yes, I could see Sharon, rigging an entire car full of the Romalotti family and sending them off a cliff, driving on a dark, windy mountain road, into a lake, into an obstacle. So, we could move Phyllis into the back seat to sit next to Lucy, move Heather up to sit shotgun by Daniel, and then Sharon could wipe them all out at once. And that does sound like something that awful Camryn might tell her to do while she's hallucinating. All right, the last person to consider who's in life and death peril before all this is over is Sharon Newman herself. I just mentioned the false spoiler that said Sharon and Phyllis are both in danger soon because of this mental health spiral. So would Sharon get into the car with one or more of the people that she's targeting? I'm mostly focused on a car accident, by the way, as her means of revenge because that's how Cassie died. She technically died later from the injuries from the crash, but it's all about a car crash. And I think Sharon might see it as things coming full circle because this car crash with Faith and Lucy has definitely triggered her. So she might go full Thelma and Louise. Camryn may be telling her soon that if Daniel dies in a car crash, it'll reset everything, reset her life. Cassie wouldn't have died. And Sharon is not in touch with reality. She may be deluded enough to believe that. I could see it. So maybe Sharon, is in the car driving them down a dark road. Maybe she thinks she needs to be behind the wheel to make sure everything goes according to plan. So Cassie will come back to her. It does look like we're not going to have too much longer to wait. Sharon is getting close to rock bottom based on her current actions. The only person she's really listening to is dead Camryn, and she's lying to her family constantly. And when Sharon is not seeing Camryn or trying to avoid or lie to her family, she's raging at the Summers Romalotti family. Grief has definitely gotten the better of Sharon, and who knows how many lives will be at risk before this whole bipolar spiral is resolved. Will somebody actually die because of Sharon's actions? Are we about to see the end of one of the family, Daniel or Lucy or Heather or Phyllis or even Sharon? I'm going to lay odds on Sharon and Phyllis both surviving because they each celebrate their 30 years at Y&R this month, and then Phyllis's is next month. But when it comes to Daniel, Heather, and Lucy, they might be expendable. So wait to see who lives and whether somebody dies. Drop your comments. Please subscribe if you've not already. It's Belinda from Soap Dirt, talking Young and the Restless with you 7 days a week.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.